What is the single most important issue, the biggest challenge in this campaign and for the next president?
Well,
is it foreign policy or is it domestic
policy?
policy?
On a federal perspective, it always begins with foreign policy because the most important obligation of the federal government is to keep us safe. And today we face threats from abroad that are multifaceted in comparison to what they were 10 or 15, 20 years ago. We face the risk of a rising China. We see the erosion of NATO's ability to blunt Putin's efforts to rewrite and relitigate the end of the Cold War in Europe. And then we see the rise in the Middle East of both multiple radical jihadist groups, both ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and other affiliated groups. So the world has it's a multifaceted
Well, do you think we're winning?
Well, I don't think we're doing as well as we could be on any of these fronts.
Can you, Senator, envision under any circumstances sending American ground forces back into the Middle East?
It's not the ideal outcome. I mean, certainly there are circumstances, hypothetically, where that would happen. It isn't the first option because it isn't the best option. The best option would be the combination of a Sunni-Arab combined army, Egyptians, Saudis, Jordanians, who confront a radical Sunni group on the ground and defeat them, in combination with U.S. air support, U.S. logistical and intelligence support, and embedded with some U.S. Special Operations Forces. That is the best option moving forward. In the absence of that, we have what we have now, which is we have outsourced the ground operation to Shia militias under the complete control of General Soleimani and the Revolutionary Guard of Iran, and they're not leaving when this is over. If ISIS is defeated, they will then become the predominant group on the ground, and you've just triggered a whole new era of Iranian influence over Iraq, but also the increase for sectarian violence in that region for years to come.
And does that present a threat to the American homeland?
Absolutely. To begin with, I mean, Iran's hegemonic ambitions present a threat to our homeland. Iran continues to develop long-range rockets. What are they? They're not trying to put a man on the moon. The reason why they're developing intercontinental ballistic missiles is to hold it as a leverage point initially against Europe and ultimately against the United States.
Where do you come down then on the negotiations with Iran on trying to limit their nuclear weapons?
I don't think they'll be successful. They're leaving in place massive amounts of infrastructure. Russia's going to provide anti-aircraft capabilities. The Chinese are going to build a nuclear reactor capability, all of which is the basic infrastructure you need to weaponize that system.
So if you don't get a deal, what's the alternative? Do we have to go to war? Is it necessary to be absolutely certain they don't have a nuclear weapon or the capability to build one?
And I think that the best way to have achieved that is to leave in place both the unilateral sanctions and the international sanctions. You combine that with a very clear demarcation to the Iranian regime, and that is this: if you cross this threshold, you will face military action on the part of the United States. We don't want that to happen, but the risk of a nuclear Iran is so great that that option must be on the table.
So if it came to that, that would be an option that you would actually
absolutely
consider and use.
And let me tell you why. If we don't do it, someone else will. The Saudis are not going to sit there and watch Iran build a Shia bomb without a Sunni bomb. The Israelis are not going to sit there and watch a regime that calls for their destruction develop the capability to do so. But again, we would hope to have avoided that point by severely limiting and sanctioning Iran for its nuclear ambitions. And quite frankly, I think this deal could literally lead to increasing the prospects for war.
But what you're saying here, we cannot let Iran become a nuclear power, and we have to do whatever is necessary if that includes going to war with Iran.
By the way, if Iran doesn't need nuclear power, peaceful nuclear power, they're an oil-rich country. The only reason why they want enrichment and reprocessing capability is they want to one day be able to be nuclear threshold or nuclear possessed.